action Yu-Gi-Oh movie. Of course, we had two Yu-Gi-Oh anime movies throughout the years. No, three. I'm sorry, three Yu-Gi-Oh movies out the years. Which is kind of crazy considering that Pokemon had like at least a couple of dozen uh Pokemon anime movies and one live action one that was pretty successful. I really love Detective Pikachu. After Detective Pikachu came out, I was thought like Yu-Gi-Oh shouldn't be far behind because Yu-Gi-Oh came out at least a year or two after Pokemon did, and it is not as big as Pokemon is, but it's right up there as far as like being like a cultural phenomenon. And I always thought, since Detective Pikachu laid out the groundwork pretty much, I thought maybe a live action Yu-Gi-Oh movie could do something fairly similar to what Detective Pikachu did. Not the exact same thing, not like making like a whole detective thing, but do what like a lot of the movies or even the anime did in some extent. Yeah, just kind of like put in the same continuity, like kind of sort of the same continuity instead of like they did with Arc 5, where like each one's like a different universe with only one set of summoning, where it's just like it's all together like it's supposed to be, where everybody gets to do all these types of summons and play styles from all these different eras of Yu-Gi-Oh. And we can like of course like pay homage to a lot of the people who voice the characters, like there's like a main, let's say there's a main character, it could be a boy or a girl, doesn't matter. The main character who visits this game shop, whose owner happens to be the same voice actor for Little Yugi and Yama Yugi. And like the Yama Yugi voice comes out when the main character, let's say, is, you know, after going to like the halfway point where things, you know, look as bleakest, uh that Yami Yugi voice comes out, and it'll give you that kind of like that voice. It's just like when you hear that voice encouraging you on to keep going. It just like gives you like that spark you need when you hear that it's like that calming deep voice. It's kind of like the way like you hear Captain America speak with you. It's like you feel like you can do anything kind of voice. And of course you got like, you know, for like a tournament, of course it's got to be a tournament, and like the person running the tournament, or at least or the announcer of the tournament, could be like the guy who voices Seto Kaiba. He has a great voice for an announcer, but that kind of thing. And then of course, like I said, it's like it has its own set of characters. Like you got this main character, his couple of friends, one of them being like a possible love interest, but it doesn't have to be all overindulgent. Because I like Detective Pikachu, where it's like obvious that they like are into each other, but it's not like, you know, it's not like a complete focus. It's like is it's like they into each other. Let's move on. I think we can rehash that maybe in the next movie. But let's say, I don't know, uh uh like the main character is, you know, only has his mother looking after him, let's say, for example. But this father hasn't been seen in years. The father can be like the main bad guy, or at least under control or working for the main bad guy, that kind of thing, but haven't been seen in years. And maybe uh the main villain of this movie is using the tournament similar to what happened in GX, where it's like using those wristbands to like soak up dual energy to bring this dark force into real life. to take over the world, that kind of thing. But instead of like armbands, it's actually the dual disc, and it was tempered with or something like that. And maybe like so far as like maybe not like a detective kind of well, you can have like a mystery involving it, but it's not like a mystery kind of film like Detective Pikachu was. I think maybe, I don't know, just like make it like you see like in like any one of the Yu-Gi-Oh movies, but uh the focus is the duels. Now, unlike Detective Pikachu, where it's like, well, it's kind of sort of similar to Detective Pikachu so far as maybe like the budget, because maybe not as much, because in Detective Pikachu, like the details and, well, I think it's a little bit more expensive as far as making like live, realistic looking Pokemon in the real world. But with this live action Yu-Gi-Oh movie, I think it's fairly less expensive by comparison, because you're dealing with actual holographic monsters. So I mean, you still have their textures and everything like that, but it's clearly supposed to be holograms. And of course, I want to also include like, you know, 5D's era with like, dueling cycles, you know, where you also have like you know like a racetrack where you can duel people on motorcycles. I do not want to like lose that, because I always thought that was so freaking cool of an idea. Don't lose that. But then yeah, the main character uh has to have a rival. That's like non-negotiable. It'd be nice to include like new dueling cards that it's like a movie exclusive. It is distributed in real life after the movie comes out. And of course, just like a lot of like Yu-Gi-Oh protagonists have like their ace card with usually like 2500 attack power, the main character has their own type of card with 2500 attack power that's exclusively to them. That'll be awesome. And of course, you get to see all the classic Yu-Gi-Oh cards that you've seen throughout the years. And of course, they keep the dual links. I do not want to exclude dual links, but I do not like that whole limiting the card space of dual monsters that they did in Duel Links. I haven't seen Duel Links, but I've seen like images where they have like limited space, and it's like, I don't like that. Just because you want to like limit the summons, like, because I guess people thought Yu-Gi-Oh R5 kind of like jumped the shark so far as like being too easy to summon monsters. But it's like, no, I do not want to like take away anything from Duel Links. We'll keep the link stuff, but leave the space where it is, where you have pendulum summons. I want to include pendulum summons. I do not want to exclude that. That was like a cool idea too. That was like a neat little creative way to, because it's kind of like the Guardian of Apopus trap card. It's like certain trap cards are also monster cards. You have monster cards that are also magic cards. That was a neat idea to keep that in play. But then also have like a space for the links. There's only 2 spaces on the game board for specifically the link monsters, so they're not being excluded. But you also got the synchro summoning, and the fusions. Obviously, fusions gotta be a mainstay. XC summoning, gotta keep those. But yeah, everyone is being represented and not excluded at all for the sake of the other. But then the core theme of the movie, it has to be about friendship, because a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh movies, at least the Yu-Gi-Oh series, has like that running gambit of friendship. But I don't want to have no freaking friendship piece. That's crappy and annoying. At least don't harp on it so much like Ted does constantly. But I think it should be about family. I know it sounds like I'm Fast and Furious reference, but it should be about family. Like, main characters trying to reach out and pull their father from the darkness that's holding them, so that way they can like keep this darkness from spreading any further. Let's say like maybe the darkness is kind of like infecting uh, duelists in a way to affecting their negative emotions, to forcing them to keep on dueling until they drop dead, kind of situation. Not like dead, because also need to be PG-13 in some fashion, but like drop unconscious. Uh, of course, the main character got to have their own decision of cars. Uh, but maybe like uh, I don't know what that could be exactly. It's got to be uniquely to them that we probably haven't seen before. Kind of like the way like Dark Side's Dimensions have like their uh main bad guy who used Cubic Beast deck. This is like a brand new type of cards that I've seen before until that movie. It's very unique. The main characters should have their own thing, and the main villains should have their own thing as well. But as far as like friends and rivals, I think one of them should have the Burning Abyss deck, and definitely use like the Cosmo theme deck. I think like those decks need to be fully expounded upon. And I think there's like a great theme that I played in Legacy of the Duelist. I think those were great cards. I think friend or rival can use like the Burning Abyss deck, or uh or the Cosmo deck. It'd be cool to see like a Star Wars Wizard of Oz type of deck being flourished in like thanks to the Cosmo deck, just to see that in live action being used by the friend or rival. And then and the Burning Abyss deck is awesome. I think the rival should have the Burning Abyss deck because it's based off of Dante's Inferno and going through hell, and maybe like the main rival has some stake in this too in some way. Maybe his, you know, a lot of rivals have like little brothers they gotta look after. Maybe this one has a little sister. Maybe change it up a little bit. You know, but yeah, I think like I always wanted to like, I mean, if I make a movie, if I ever wanted to make a movie, I always wanted to like like I wanted to get into like voice acting too. I've been doing like auditions and everything like that for a while. Uh and I've been making like YouTube channels and stuff to like, you know, get me uh uh, more involved and used to hear my voice, and do all these other stuff to like, you know, exercise my voice so far as like reading and just talking. And like it'll been like a dream come true if I voiced a character in like a Yu-Gi-Oh series and Pokemon series, both of those, because those are my two favorite animes of all time by far. And then like Naruto and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is part like right behind those. And My Hero Academia is like right behind that. As far and Bleach too. So as far as like those like those main ones that I revere as far as like my favorite animes of all time. But Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon is right at the tippy top. It's tied for number one for me. But yeah, I mean, I always been wondering like what a live action. I always thought what a live action Pokemon would look like, but Detective Pikachu came out, did gangbusters. But I think a live action Yu-Gi-Oh needs to be in the works. And like everybody who's like don't know is Takuki Kakahashi, the creator of Duel Monsters. I'm pretty sure he's still alive, but he definitely deserves to have a cameo in this because this is his baby. It's kind of like he needs to be the Stan Lee of this. This can easily be a franchise. I definitely think Detective Pikachu 2 should be in the works because it did so well. And of course, because they did like the Pokemon theme song just a little bit in Detective Pikachu, they definitely need to bring in some of the classic songs of Yu-Gi-Oh series, like only like the main themes of each of the Yu-Gi-Oh generations theme songs, like GX and 5D's theme song definitely still hits and they're very good. But definitely because like Duel in early Duel Monsters, they had like very classic soundtracks that could be brought back, like no matter what, uh uh I'm back. A lot of Kaiba's theme songs are pretty good. Yeah, infuse those in somehow, like in like little snippets or towards the end credits and stuff like that. uh Definitely do like a end credit scenes. If it, like, you know, just have an end credit scene just to wet people's whistle a bit, like, because definitely got to do this right. I don't want to half-ass it. If I would have made one, I do not want to half-ass it. Or if somebody's planning on making one, I do not want anybody half-assing this. This has to be just right. Okay, it doesn't need to be Citizen Kane, but it has to be on the same par as the way Detective Pikachu did. Because so as far as like video game movies, it definitely put like a bar very high. I think like the only spot that, like, I think like the first Mortal Kombat movie is like still kind of has that top spot, but Detective Pikachu, the Sonic movie, I think like the recent Mortal Kombat movie that came out, I think it's pretty damn good. As far as like you know, awesome video game movies. But I think then of course they have like live action anime technically, but Cowboy Bebop might do gangbusters once that comes out, live action one. But I definitely think live action Yu-Gi-Oh would work. It's like you don't have to spend too much on the budget on this, and just like whatever the same amount of like whatever budget that you use for Detective Pikachu, you can use that equal amount for this. It doesn't have to be like a grand thing. It can be localized to a particular city. It can be Domino City, as a matter of fact, but just a little ahead in the future, or at least somewhat ambiguous as far as like how the future is, where it's reasonable to some people can have still remember Yugi, Joey, Kaiba, but they don't appear. But it'd be like a nice little, you know, little snippet, just like a tease, or just to get the crowd go, oh, just to see, like, you know, like at the end of the movie, not the end credits, but maybe like a mid credits or something like that, at least before the credits maybe, whereas like after like the day is saved and the main character is just like out at a park, and they and like in like kind of sort of silhouette of the face maybe, and you see like Yugi like at the you know, other end of the park, like, and they're just those two just staring at each other, and it's like you don't hear nothing from Yugi. He just puts on his dual disc and like just loads it up and locks in his deck, and then like it'd be cool to have like the main character just say something cool like, I wonder how my skill will stack up against you. I always wonder how my skill will stack up against you. And then the last line said is just, or it'd be nice to just have like Yugi, the only thing Yugi would say right as like his face to black, you hear like him and the main character of the movie say, "Let's duel," and credits. It's something similar to that. It needs obviously work, obviously with the details, but that's why I imagine something like this will work. Just, you know, not too crazy, just, you know, in the same scope as Detective Pikachu was as far as like scale, but maybe not too big of a scale because of those giant torteras and everything like that, but, you know, something in that same vein. And maybe the only mystery is trying to figure out what happened to my father, and somebody's, you know, coming in and saying like, or maybe the female lead, the main female lead comes to them like, I know what happened to your father. And it's like, and then like they'll be going on this adventure and investigating these places where they last seen their father, and they run to these thugs, and they're duelists, and they challenging each person. And like the main rival has, like I said, a stickiness, and he comes into play, and they could be like a tag team between, you know, rival and the main duelist, or a triple tag between the rival main person and the female lead against three other henchmen antagonists, and just like and then the best friend got to be in there somewhere, of course. and backing them up. Uh, I'm just like, and then it's got to be like a tournament kind of stuff. Obviously, I can't have like a Yu-Gi-Oh movie without a tournament involved. But maybe like the tournament, maybe not. Ironically, maybe not the main focus because tournaments can probably take a minute. But I don't know. Maybe the tournament has to be like maybe like the main focus. But definitely because like maybe like the after investigating certain areas, they realize like it has to be in the person running the tournament has to be involved. So we have to join so we can get to the top and face that person so we can get our answers, kind of thing. That's how I like sort of imagine it. Of course, it needs to be reworked. I'm not a director or anything like that, but I imagine that be like the shape of the movie without about the finer details. But that's how I would picture it. Like, I am dying for a Yu-Gi-Oh live action movie. I think it's so doable. And obviously, like I said, Detective Pichu laid out the groundwork. You just, use that same budget you use for that and apply it to this, and you can make this work. And especially get people involved that love the anime, that's been like a fan since the beginning. Because just like Detective Pikachu, everybody involved, you can tell there were a lot of fans that make sure every nook and cranny is just right. Like the fur hairs off of Jigglypuff's body, that kind of detail. Or like the scales off of Charizard's that you can tell as you look up close and you see like he's a dragon, so it has to look reptilian in some way. So that's why I want to see, like, if you look at like the blue eyes of white dragon, you want to see the scales off a freaking dragon. And same thing if you see the dark magician, I want to see like a man in like a purple wizard cloak with a staff. And the dark magician girl obviously gotta be like, of course, in the Japanese, she's a little not totally risque, but it's just like because the English drawings of the cards had to lengthen skirts and remove cleavage and kind of thing. But I don't think it's gonna be as bad in like movie format if it's PG-13 rated. You can obviously show a small amount of cleavage. She's a hologram. It doesn't have to be that ridiculous with it. But that's my thoughts on how I would make a Yu-Gi-Oh movie. But I'm curious to know what you guys' thoughts are. Like, how would you make a Yu-Gi-Oh movie? And like, would you make it like the way I do it, or would you stick with like a detective format, or at least what genre would you like include in this kind of thing? But follow me, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Follow me on my Patreon. That's www.patreon.com/talkativecarl. If you have ideas for certain reviews or ideas for videos that you want me to do, I would definitely put on the list, make it a priority, give you a shout out, that kind of thing. Just building this community up with you guys. I'm curious to know what you guys' thoughts on the subject, especially all those Yu-Gi-Oh fans out there. So yeah, I will see you guys soon. I will eventually do a review of the Yu-Gi-Oh movies. I just don't know where I was put that in. I think maybe it's probably best. Well, maybe after I'm done with the Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Monsters review, that's when I'll do the Yu-Gi-Oh first movie review. And then before I bump into Yu-Gi-Oh GX. Once GX is finished, that's when I am going to review the Bonds Beyond Time. And then going to Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds. And then after 5Ds is over, that's when I'll do Dark Side of Dimensions. Did I say Dark Siders Dimensions? Dark Side of Dimensions. And then, of course, I will go into eventually Zaxo and then Arc 5. Luckily, those aren't as they're long seasons on their own, right? It's like 2 or 3, but they're definitely not as long as like Duel Monsters are, because the Duel Monsters definitely was still getting their footing and establishing a fan base. But yeah, I will see you guys